쇼음럽역.
안녕하세요. 자군방입니다. 제 이름은 미키입니다. 조금 한국말 하세요. 벤입니다. 아일랜드 사람 바람둥이 벤 씨. 안녕하세요, 벤.
안녕하세요.
Very good. Yeah, we've done it.
Okay, that was dropped on me unprompted, ladies and gentlemen. And in the spirit of things being unprompted,
The music for the podcast. We don't actually have anything music.
Very good. Ben, I've probably made a balls of that anyway, so don't worry, it's not too embarrassing for you.
ladies and gentlemen, you are not listening to the Korean Social Hour here on iTunes, Spotify, or YouTube. You are listening to Michael and Benjamin's podcast. And this week, Michael's been giving you a little tidbit on what might be coming up in the pod.
A little teaser surprise.
Yes, welcome back, Michael.
Oh, thanks, Ben.
Yes.
Very good. Benjamin.
Yes.
It was a big week in popular culture because it was the week of the Oscars.
Bloody massive week in popular culture, Michael.
The week of the Oscars,
Oscars.
Ben. Benjamin.
Yes.
Joaquin Phoenix.
Joaquin Phoenix.
Joaquin.
Yeah.
Phoenix.
Jacqueline Phoenix.
Jacqueline Phoenix from Dublin has won the Oscar for Best Performance. Best Actor?
Best Actor.
I think it should just be Best Performance and don't separate men and women.
Oh, I mean, half of them would agree, but then, half of them will say, no, we need separate categories to recognise distinction in both categories.
But like that kind of, like Ben, I see the point of separating men and women in sports, let's say wrestling.
Yes.
Because a woman's never going to beat a man in wrestling.
Yes.
But Ben...
Can you get in trouble with that?
No, I won't.
Yes, you will.
Well, if there's any women who disagree, they can wrestle me and we'll see how it goes. But in acting, Ben...
This is a good start to a pod.
In acting, Ben, it's level pegging. It's even footing.
Well, pegging, it depends really on what both people are into. As long as it's consensual, you can have quite hardcore pegging if you want.
I see what you've done there. You've put a bit of sexual innuendo in it.
Yes.
Ben, but what I'm saying is... I don't think it's necessary to have Best Actor, Best Actress.
No, it probably isn't, Michael, but if they didn't have separate categories, white men would win all of the best performances because the Oscars is intrinsically racist.
I disagree with you there. I think that...
Why do you disagree with that, Michael?
Because I think it can be fixed. And if something is intrinsically racist, it doesn't mean it can't be changed. It's ingrained in its very nature.
I didn't misspeak.
Whereas what it is that the panel of the Oscars is mostly older white gentlemen, but that'll change over time.
If the Oscars is still around.
And as you can see, Ben, this year was quite interesting in some
It was,
ways.
Michael.
Yeah.
Hence the reason we have this week's topic.
Exactly, Ben. See what I'm saying?
Fucking, yeah.
So, yeah, I don't think the Oscars is intrinsically racist. I think that can be changed. And then
I'm intrinsically racist.
Exactly.
But the Oscars is not.
It would be like... I also think they should do away with the idea of best foreign film.
It's a bit ridiculous this time around, Michael, because bloody Parasite, Michael,
Because
won best film and best foreign film.
How can you
that
win?
doesn't make any fucking sense.
I mean, if it wins best film, then shouldn't it by default win best foreign film?
It should, but there's no need to have two separate categories anymore because it's just the best film.
It's just the best film. That's
Now
what
we
I'm saying.
can definitely get rid of that category because if we're just letting foreign films win best film, then we don't have to worry about that category anymore.
Yeah. So I would say, Ben, let's get rid of it. Let's just do best film, best director, best main performance or central performance, best supporting performance.
You should write this down for the annual Mickeys.
And leave it at that.
You should write this down for the annual
That's too
Mickeys.
boring. That's too boring because I'm not that into acting.
I will tell you something from the Oscars,
What?
Michael. Bloody Steven Spielberg is shitting himself. He's there clenching his cheeks going, oh no, we're letting foreign people win now. I'm never going to win again.
Is Senor Spielbergo a bit of a racist? Is that
He's
your-
not a racist, no, but he does give out about the Oscars being real or false every once in a while, where he's like, Netflix
'cause he
isn't
doesn't
real
want
cinema.
Netflix, yeah.
Yeah, but then Netflix went and sorted out, it's not even shown in cinemas. So what did Netflix do this year, Michael? They bought a bunch of cinema showings and just put their films in cinema.
Oh, very good.
That's what they get. That's what you get, Michael.
Don't mess with
When
Netflix,
there's a
Ben.
when there's a multi-billion-dollar company and you say, oh, well, it's not this, they'll just spend a little bit of money and fucking fix it so that it is.
Oh, very good.
Yeah. That's what's going to happen, Michael.
Ben,
That's where it's at. What?
I think Joaquin Phoenix was deserving, though, of best performance.
Oh, it was a very good performance,
I
Michael.
didn't like the film that much.
No, neither of us liked. No great Joker fans were we, Michael.
No great Joker fans.
As you so eloquently put it, Michael, that could have been about anything.
Could have been anything.
Yeah. But that being said, since it could have been about anything, rather decent performance from Joaquin Phoenix.
Yes. Good performance.
Rather decent performance. I enjoyed the internet backlash, Michael. As you know, we dwell in different parts of the internet, you and I, and a lot of people had a fucking fit that Joker didn't win Best Film. There was a lot of reeing from the neckbeards.
Oh, was there? Well,
Yes.
I didn't think it was the best film, Ben.
No, it did not deserve Best Film by any stretch of the imagination, Michael. But look, We're not here to dictate what is good and bad culture, Michael. We're just here to discuss it.
Now, Ben, in a beautiful segue,
Go on.
the
Buttery
film
smooth.
almost certainly to win 2021's best film is The Batman.
The Batman.
By... Who's doing it?
Robert Pattinson and Matt Reeves.
Matt Reeves, The Batman.
Matt Reeves, the Batman.
Almost certainly to win best film 2020.
Or, you know what makes a great Batman?
Mm.
When his chin's as pointy as his ears.
Because he's got a big chin, as
Got a
Robert
big
Pattinson.
pointy chin.
Benjamin,
Yes.
on a totally unrelated note, did you see the new teaser trailer for Daredevil Season 4? See what I've done?
I see what
Do you see what I've done?
Because it's a bloody red light and
Because
it's
it's red
scopey
light.
and a little bit. Oh yeah, to be fair, actually that's exactly what it was. Do you know what, Michael?
Go on.
I've been struggling to put my finger on exactly what it reminded me of. You've hit the nail squarely on the head,
Even
roundly
the
on the
music,
head.
even the music is the same.
It's a
Ben.
little bit Batman-y, or a little bit Daredevil-y.
It is. It's like an
Yeah.
opening sequence for Daredevil.
Yeah.
I thought it was Daredevil Season 4.
That's a very fair point.
And then I said, oh, it's Batman.
It's an interesting looking suit, Michael.
Well, it's got its quirks.
It's got its quirks. It seems to be a very big head. I don't know whether that's Robert Pattinson or just...
Maybe he just has an enormous
I think
forehead.
he might have an enormous forehead, an enormous back of the head, an enormous cranium. Is that
Yeah.
cranium, Michael?
That's the cranial area, yeah.
Look, I'm going to reserve judgment, Michael. We got a couple of glimpses. It's a classic Joel Schumacher, bat nips, bat butt.
Does it got nips?
Wound up. No, it doesn't. But it has it's the classic kind of pan around the suit. All over myself.
You absolute dumbass. Right, we're going to have to pause the podcast for that one. Very amusing, Ben. You've spilled water on yourself. Close the door there behind you. And we're back in action. Now, Ben, before you spilled water on yourself so humorously, for the people on the Instagram, what were you saying?
I was saying that it's very Joel Schumacher-y in that it pans around the gentleman in a Joel Schumacher fashion. There is no bat buttocks.
No,
There probably should be at some point.
you'd probably be quite wet and wild.
Not unlike myself, Michael.
Very good.
Not
How are you
unlike
feeling?
myself. Much drier.
You're wearing
Much
my
drier.
trousers
I'm
now,
wearing
Ben.
your trousers now. I'm very uncomfortable with the whole affair. Your cat Taylor was looking at me like I'm not ready for this phase in my relationship. Stop taking your pants off in my presence. She was very irritated.
Are your underpants wet?
My underpants are not wet.
Very good.
I have escaped underpants wetdom.
Speaking of people with dry underpants, Ben,
Most people.
the Clone Wars.
Yes, bloody. Well, I actually imagine that quite a few Star Wars fans wet their pants when they found out that the new season of Star Wars Clone Wars is coming out on March 5th.
That was a buttery smooth segue, Ben. That was worthy of one of my segues.
No, it was almost up there.
That was incredible.
I almost reached the ranks of Michael Segue.
Incredible.
Season 7 of The Clone Wars is out on March 5th.
So-
It's streaming on Disney Plus.
They're going back to the Clone Wars.
Going back to the Clone Wars.
Because they had Clone Wars, and then they had Rebels, and then they had
Yes.
Galaxy Fighters, or whatever the hell it's
So it's
called.
all getting very bloody messy.
Okay.
Unfortunately, yes. So basically, Rebels came after Clone Wars. And it's rather unusual, Michael, because we've seen spoilers for Star Wars Rebels and Clone Wars coming up. But basically, one of the big things that happened in the Clone Wars is that Darth Maul came back.
Yeah, but his legs were robots.
His robot legs.
Yeah.
And he's been kind of, I suppose, the central antagonist throughout much of the Clone Wars saga, the one that added real interest to the
Even though he had robot legs.
piece. Yes, and again, it became solidified really as one of the great Star Wars villains through the Clone Wars.
Despite his lack of legs.
Despite his lack of legs. Do
Organic
you know who
legs.
doesn't piss his pants? Bloody Darth
Maul,
Maul. He doesn't
yeah,
have any
he's got-
legs.
got
Doesn't
no
have any
legs.
equipment below the bloody tum
You
tum.
might leak a hydraulic fluid.
He could on occasion, perhaps. So basically,
Yes, go on.
we got to see the animosity between Obi-Wan Kenobi and Darth Maul grow into a real vitriolic hatred of each other.
Now, Ben, in spoiler territory,
Yes.
wasn't that resolved
It was, Michael, at the end of Star Wars Rebels.
with a choppening?
With a choppening, whereupon the exact same fight that happened in Star Wars The Phantom Menace brought out on my birthday, May 19th, 2000, or 1999. Could have been
I think
1999.
it was 97.
For The Phantom Menace.
No, I'm guessing. Just go
No.
on anyway.
It was May 19th anyway. My birthday.
The day of your birth.
The day of my birth. Yes, and it was resolved where we saw a very similar fight take place. It's older Alex, I'm going to forget his name. Alec McGuinness, Obi-Wan Kenobi.
Alec Guinness.
Alec Guinness, thank you.
Yeah.
McGuinness, get out of town. Alec Guinness, Obi-Wan Kenobi versus him in the desert because Darth Maul tracks him down to
Yeah.
Tatooine. And he's like, why are you here? Why are you hiding in the
What?
desert?
What
Are you protecting something in the desert?
I'll never tell you.
And then Obi-Wan
Oh.
Kenobi, who's normally like totally chill and like, no, violence is not the way. The Force is like, nah, fuck you can't have him, and cuts him in half.
Yeah, he gives him a chop.
So full spoilers there. But
Chopping.
now, Michael,
Mhm.
bloody Darth Maul's back. He's in
back
the Clone
again,
Wars,
again.
and he's the central antagonist in the Clone Wars. But it's not after Rebels; it's before Rebels again.
Rebels.
And we get to see what happens to Ahsoka Tano, who is the former apprentice of bloody Anakin Skywalker. And it really is messy now, Michael, because in Rebels we got to see Ahsoka Tano and her realization that Darth Vader is her former master, Anakin Skywalker. And there's a whole horrific kind of psychological scarring incident.
Oh, no.
Bloody great. Pretty great stuff. Clone Wars is some of the best Star Wars stuff to ever come out, Michael.
I like Star Wars Rogue One.
Rogue One is very good, Michael.
I liked it.
Rogue One is... He's getting a new movie.
Is
I
it?
can't remember. I've missed... No, not Rogue One.
Obi-Wan
The director
Kenobi.
of Rogue One is getting a big action franchise.
Who is the director
Of
of
some
Rogue One?
kind. I'm not sure. I'll have to look it up, Michael.
I've
This is
forgotten
an
who that was.
unexpected... This is an unexpected delight. But anyway, we're going back to the Clone Wars. Back to the wars. Back to the Clone Wars.
Order 66.
Nice. And yes, that's what's happening. We're getting it again, and it looks pretty good, Michael. It looks like we're gonna some friends become enemies, some enemies become friends.
Oh, classic.
Bloody classic, bloody what
Classic
a twisted
Star
web
Wars.
we weave.
Benjamin.
Oh, reaping what we sow.
Other things.
Oh, things come back around.
Other things which are... No, go on. One more would have been funny. No, you're not going to interrupt me? All right. So, fine.
Go on.
Other things which are coming back, Ben, are...
Nice.
Favourite of the pod, alternate carbonate.
Alternate Carbonate, one of our first ever episodes, Michael. The first,
Was it?
No, it wasn't. It was it was our first episode when I moved to Florence. It was our first episode when I moved to Florence for a year, Michael. And the first time we tried graphic design and marketing on an Instagram.
No good.
No good, terrible stuff. But at the time we were like, this is very good.
We're very modern.
Bloody Dunning-Kruger effect in full flow there, Michael, where we were just patting each other on the back, just being like,
Transcontinental.
And now we look at it and go, oh,
Very bad.
very bad, very, very bad. So yeah, Alternate Carbon is coming back. We're not getting bloody Joel Kinnahan anymore, though. It's bloody Anthony Mackie.
He's probably better.
Anthony Mackie is probably a better actor, although I really enjoyed Joel Kinnahan as Takeshi Kovac. No?
I think you're getting a lot of names wrong today.
What is it? Who's
Isn't
it? Joel
Kinnaman?
Kinnerman?
Is it Kinnaman?
Oh, hang on.
Kinnerman? Doesn't really matter.
That's
I mean,
too
you're getting your message across. but
You spin your wheels
I
there
just- I
and tell
just-
me how you feel
I
about
just
it.
know that I don't really care. I didn't really watch. I never made it all the way through season 1 of Alternate Carbon.
Did you not?
I didn't.
That's weird. I'm
Um,
really into Alternate Carbon, so I'm looking forward to it. Most important character coming back, bloody Edgar Allan Poe AI hologram guy.
Oh,
who's
he's
back.
very important.
And big fan of him, so nice to see him back. Nice to see him back. Look, it's going to be interesting. It's going to be a completely different thing. I think it's interesting that we have to do a completely different lead actor.
Have to.
Well, I think they've just decided that, we got Anthony Mackie, let's use him.
Well, won't it be interesting if they do a different lead every time?
Yes, but that's what I mean. It's a kind of a new step for... Although I suppose we have so many anthology series now and things like that.
But he is playing the same character.
He's playing the same character,
It's a
which
Doctor
is very
Who-esque
interesting.
type situation.
Yes, I suppose it is, Michael. I didn't even consider it
But
that
they
way.
just change per season.
Yes.
Maybe in 15 years they'll have a lady.
A lady. No, they won't. No, they
And
won't.
she might win Best Performance at the Oscars.
Best Korean performance at the Oscars.
Very good.
Yes, because we'll have different categories for every country
That'll be,
in the future.
I would say, reductive.
Very.
Benjamin,
Yes.
speaking of little trailer announcement teasers, wasn't the teaser for Stranger Things 4 a bit of a non-event?
Yes, bloody not shocking at all.
Yes.
Oh, look.
Hopper's
a bunch
alive.
of...
He's in Russia.
Oh, look. Oh, they found a Hopper in the reactor and they bloody kept him. Oh, look.
He's Red Guardian.
He's doing just fine. Oh, maybe. Oh, then it turns out Stranger
Crossover.
Things is completely linked to Black Widow. Oh,
Yeah,
I like it.
that'd be good, wouldn't it?
I like it. Do you think they did this just so it'd help out David Harbour's schedule, where he was already in Russia filming things, and they were just like, oh, well, fuck it.
I don't imagine a lot of either of these things was filmed in Russia, to be honest with you.
Probably in Minnesota, eh?
Minnesota or Canada, eh?
Eh?
Maybe a little bit
Maybe
in Alaska,
Vancouver,
eh? Would just doing a voice. Yeah, so
Yeah.
I don't know. I mean, we knew he was alive, didn't we? That was the whole point. And
That was no great shock, was it?
Yeah, it
a
was-
big emotional goodbye. Oh, wait, we didn't need that at all.
it was a bit of a damn squib of a teaser,
Again,
to my mind, Benjamin.
probably a pants-wetting moment for some.
For the people,
Are there hardcore Stranger Things fans?
I think there are hardcore Stranger Things fans.
Really?
I hope there are also hardcore.
What are they called?
Chief Strangerers.
Oh, I like it.
Mm.
That's actually quite good.
Chief, what's his name? Hopper?
Chief Hopper.
Is it?
Yeah, sure.
Yeah. Well, there's probably hardcore him fans.
Oh, I'm sure there's some Hopper fans.
They're like a hard
Hopperites.
drinking, hard smoking
Hop-alongs.
dad character.
Yeah.
They're probably into that. So, people will be happy. Also, Ben, I'll watch Stranger Things season 4. I'll make it all the way through the damn thing.
Will you?
Unlike Alternate Carbonate.
Fair enough.
Unlike Lock and Key.
Did you not watch all of Lock and Key?
Haven't made it all the way through Lock and Key, Ben. I've been very busy this week.
We've had a busy week, man.
We've had a busy popular culture week. We had to watch the Oscars.
Yes, but the Oscars.
We had to do our other podcast where we rated everyone's dress. Rate the dress with Mick and Ben.
Yeah.
We had to do
a hemline.
A hemline.
It's our catty.
Yeah.
No. A hemline, which
and
is
Ben, I had to go to Wednesday Night Cinema Club. Once again, without you, you've been struck down by a real dose of carrot's blood.
Wait. What Wednesday Night Cinema Club?
We went to see Sonic the Hedgehog.
That was on Saturday night.
Yeah, it doesn't matter what day it is.
Michael, that is categorically untrue. It's called Wednesday Night Club.
Yeah.
And had you asked me on Wednesday night, I still wouldn't have gone with you because I was busy.
You see? You're too busy. You're too busy with your other antics. So, Benjamin, we flew in our friend Dave to take your spot.
Your friend Dave?
Yeah, and we went to see Sonic the Hedgehog.
And?
Guess what?
It probably wasn't that good.
It's not that bad.
Oh, okay, never mind.
It's kind of fine.
Bloody cat's got my tongue.
Yeah.
Bloody...
It's not the greatest film ever made, but it's far from the worst film ever made.
Well, that's good news, isn't it? How's Jim Carrey? How's he doing?
Jim Carrey's fine. He overacts. He does a big mad performance.
But that's Jim Carrey.
It's fine. It's a good character. It's an amusing character. The design of everything in the world is very good.
Good.
Sonic is not horrific.
Yes, because they went and fixed him. In a rare case of listening to the internets.
It's the biggest there are two major criticisms one might level against it.
Are we going to do spoilers?
No, we'll leave the spoilers alone. We might talk about it later, Ben, because we're planning an episode on why video game movies don't work. Or do sometimes.
Okay.
So we might get in more into depth to it in that episode.
Yes.
But two criticisms you might feel like leveling against it are, one, it's very kiddie. Now, Ben, it's hard to argue that a lot of what we talk about isn't at least tangentially aimed at kids.
Yes.
But
it is hard to argue that. I often try and fail.
Yeah. But it is quite kiddie. It's a kiddie film. It's very family friendly. Its message is about finding friendship, and it's a kiddie film.
James Marsden.
There are three criticisms you might level against it. One, it's very kiddie. Two, the dialogue at times feels like a first draft. Yeah. The editing's a bit odd. Like, perhaps they didn't quite have the shots and reactions they needed a lot of times because they might have done some stuff with Sonic.
They had to twist him around
long after the live action stuff was shot.
Okay.
Maybe they didn't have reaction shots, or they didn't have the right dialogue, and they had to...
Sniggy.
Yeah. And the third criticism you might have about it is that essentially it's a superhero story about a speedster.
Okay.
So, being a superhero story about a speedster...
You were waiting for Grant Gustin to pop on in there.
Well, he does have some Flash comics, but there are a lot of scenes in it which could be accused of being derivative, but not quite as good.
Oh dear.
Very mild spoiler here, but he does have a Quicksilver from the X-Men films moment.
Oh.
You know what I mean?
Yeah. Sometimes people do things and it just becomes the basis for everything since.
Yeah, so, time slows down and there's music playing and he goes and he does things.
If I could save time in a bottle.
But not as good.
The first thing that I'd ever...
Exactly.
Yeah, okay.
Yeah, but not as good.
Not as good.
All the usual problems of a speedster-based superhero movie, inconsistent super speed. Sometimes he can slow time down so much that he's essentially
a blur.
The only one who's moving and everything else is completely stationary. And other times he manages to get hit by a gun. You know what I mean?
I hate inconsistency.
How did he manage that? It's one of the problems. But in positives, it's diverting. Sonic himself is not unlikable.
Who does the voice?
It's Jason Schwartzman.
Schwartzman, yeah.
He plays it as a kind of a toothless Ryan Reynolds.
Oh, okay.
It's like Ryan Reynolds, but without the edge.
Okay. Ryan Reynolds would have been a great shout for Sonic.
But he's fine. He does a fine
does
job.
A decent job for the kids.
It has a plot.
Plots are important.
Yeah, it has character development. It has acts. It's a movie.
Okay.
It is a movie. It's a structured movie.
And a decent one.
And it's an all right kids movie that's kind of fine. Bit of sequel bait.
Okay.
The sequel probably will happen because this is done phenomenally well.
Okay.
$65 million opening weekend, I think.
Wow, that's because internet boys they listen to us.
I think that helped.
Yes,
in
I
a
think
lot
it
of ways, to be
absolutely
honest.
did.
But also, I think
Oh, that weather sounds awful.
the weather is very bad outside. It won't be picked up on our mic filters, but it's very bad out there.
Jesus.
But yeah, so that was Sonic. Actually, not that bad.
Okay, good.
Not amazing, Ben, by any stretch of the imagination.
So a few things are, Michael.
Not that bad. Probably better than Detective Pikachu.
Well,
A lot more overtly kiddie.
that's solid.
It's a kids film. It's the biggest kids film I've seen in a while. The most kiddie kids film I've seen in a while.
Okay.
To the extent that, a lot of kids films, a lot of Disney films, a lot of Pixar films, they don't feel that kiddie.
But
Even
this
though
one.
this feels kiddie.
Oh, buddy.
Yeah.
Okay.
Also, in it, James Marsden has made the decision to move from a rural cop to a big city cop. And he's like, I want to make something of myself. James Marsden is 46.
Doesn't look it.
He doesn't look it.
James Marsden does not look 46.
He doesn't look 46. But
This is his third film with CGI buddies.
Is it?
He had Hop with Russell Brand,
Right.
which was the Easter Bunny themed one. He was also in the Smurfs.
Was he?
Is he the Smurf guy?
Is he in the Smurfs?
Is he in the Smurfs?
He's often beside
I'm going to
a
say
CGI
that before
buddy.
I do Ben's retractions.
Ben's retractions.
Speaking of my retractions, Michael.
Yeah.
There's been some hype this weekend, some besmirchment of my character.
I don't think it's besmirchment. I think it's based on historical fact.
Probably accurate, yeah. But there's been besmirchment when we announced our topic for the week, Michael. Fan of the podcast, well, I assume fan of the podcast.
Probably
we wouldn't
no
know with
longer,
those traitorous comments. Nine Wassies commented that this week I will probably be eating humble pie.
And doing a lot
Come
of
a week.
retraction.
No, I'm completely wrong. It is
The guy who looks like James Marsden.
bloody Neil Patrick Harris. He's in the Smurfs. Doesn't look like James Marsden.
No, not at all.
I'm going to have to check this again now.
Benjamin, well, why don't you tell us what the topic of the week is and what inspired you to want to talk about this topic?
Well, the topic of the week, dear boy,
yes,
is that's going to cost me later on.
It is, isn't it? I've already warned you once today about calling me boy.
I can't help it. I don't know why it's. don't know why that's become a thing for me. Michael, this week on a Wednesday,
Yes.
I went to see with a friend of the podcast, Lauren.
Yeah.
I went to see Parasite.
Good.
The Oscar-winning Parasite.
Well, look, I'm sorry I wasn't able to make it.
Best film 2020.
I did appreciate the invite.
Yes, the series of invites that I sent your way, and definitely did send.
You didn't say.
No, I didn't send you any invite, Michael, because it was a spur of the moment thing.
Oh, right.
That we decided to do.
Yeah, Spurs. What are you doing? Are you sending a text? Or are you
No,
doing a
I'm in the
podcast?
middle of looking up Smurfs 2 because I think James Marsden might be in Smurfs 2.
I don't think he is.
Because they weren't good enough to get him bloody back. No, Neil Patrick is back again. That's Patrick Winslow. Never mind.
It's nothing to do with Smurfs.
Nothing to do with Smurfs. That's
Spin your
weird.
wheels there, Ben. Tell us what even is Parasite.
Parasite, Michael, is
Oscar winning film for best
foreign
director?
film, best original screenplay, best foreign film, and best director. Best director. So, Michael, to say that it swept the board with arguably some of the most important categories under its belt, it would be no over-exaggeration. It would be over-exaggeration? Yeah, no, you can over-exaggerate things. It would be nothing like that. It comes from Bong Joon-ho, who is pretty much Korean cinema's darling at this point. The man who can do no wrong of the last couple of films that he's put out. And it won Best Oscar, Michael. And I went to see it on Wednesday.
Best Oscar.
It won Best Oscar.
Yeah, Best Oscar.
Best Oscar. Well, arguably Best Film is Best Oscar, isn't it?
Isn't
That's
it?
the one you want. But apart from making excuses for my slippery tongue, we went to see it on Wednesday with a friend of mine. Due in no small part to it winning the Oscar, Michael, I was intrigued. And I went to see it. And Michael, I have to say,
Go on.
good grief, what an original film. What a stunning piece of cinema.
Oh, really?
What an all-round, genre-bending, hybrided monstrosity of a beauty.
Do go on.
It's just fantastic, Michael. Are we doing spoilers for it, Michael?
I guess
Because
we
it did
are.
technically come out in 2019.
Yeah, I guess so.
So we're going to do spoilers for it. But basically, it centers around a poor Korean family, Michael.
Mm-hmm.
And one of the young men is given the opportunity to become an English tutor for a rich and wealthy family.
Oh.
And what he does, Michael, is...
So rich and wealthy, you mean that they have both money and assets?
money and assets, Michael. Money and assets. Thank you very much. In Korea. And basically what he does is he insinuates that he is not a qualified teacher.
Mm-hmm.
He's given this gig through word of mouth and kind of cons his way into the job.
Classic.
And what he does then, Michael,
Yes.
what he does then
Go on.
this is dangerously close to a life story for certain people in the room. What he does then, Michael, is he kind of convinces the rich family to hire all his family and replace their current staff.
Yeah.
So his father becomes the driver of the family, the chauffeur. His mother becomes the housekeeper.
Very
and
good.
his sister becomes the youngest son's art tutor. Now, what they don't tell the
Is that they're
family,
a family.
is that they're family.
Oh.
And this is where the title comes from, Michael, Parasite, because there's a parasite living
He's
within
nipped
them.
in. He's nipped in.
And there is a twist, Michael, but I'm not going to spoil that because I really think it would genuinely spoil the film if I was to do that. But we won't go into the twist. What it becomes, Michael, is just it's hard to explain exactly what this is, Michael.
Go on.
It's
Try.
class deconstruction in a severe way because that's one of I'm going to get the name wrong again. Bong Joon-ho's big kind of darlings is class deconstruction and social warfare and that kind of thing.
Yes.
Really shining a light on inequality in Korean society.
Mm-hmm.
And that's the central driving. The plot hinges on that conflict of class. But there's also comedic elements to it that are absolutely hilarious. Other person that we work with in room would be not friend of the podcast really because he doesn't really listen all that often, but Stig, who we know, said that a lot of the humor is definitively Korean. But a lot of the other humour is something you could see an Irish family doing in the exact same way. And I couldn't agree with him more having seen it, Michael.
Go on.
It is very international in its humour, very international in its human emotions. You don't go into this film and feel that you have to know more about Korea than you do. This film, despite being spoken entirely in Korean,
The very cheek of them.
is not limited at all by that fact. It could be set in LA, it could be set in Dublin, it could be set... Take your pick, Michael.
That's
it's a truly
interesting.
universal film and very enjoyable.
Is it, Ben? Now, Ben, I haven't seen it,
Yes.
so I'm not going to disagree with you.
I strongly recommend that you do, Michael.
I probably
think
will.
You would really enjoy this film.
I probably would, Ben. I enjoy good films.
You enjoy good films. And this film, Michael,
Yes.
utterly deserving of the thing. There's so much to think about. There's so much to enjoy about it, Michael. It really churns a lot of gears in your head once you're done with it. It's suspenseful the whole way through. One of my favourite things about a movie, Michael, is when the entire 2-hour run of it just zips by and
Very
I'm
good.
all of a sudden left going, oh,
It's over.
I didn't once check my watch.
Huh.
I didn't once wait for it to be over. I didn't once go, okay, let's wrap it up. I was just intrigued from start to finish, Michael.
Can't believe that Dr. Robotnik was defeated so easily.
I know. I know.
I pretended you were talking about Sonic
Mere
the Hedgehog.
seconds. I wasn't. So, Michael,
Yeah.
that inspired me when you accosted me on the stairs going, what the hell are we talking about
What are we
this
talking
week,
about
Ben?
this week, Ben? We have a podcast to do.
That inspired me because I have seen a few of Bong Joon-ho's films.
Have you now?
And it inspired me to go, well, Michael, let's bloody talk about Korean cinema.
All right, we'll talk
Korean
about
pop culture.
Korean pop culture. and
Because
cinema.
Michael,
Yes.
it's been bloody huge contributor to pop culture in general, to the zeitgeist, to the pop culture zeitgeist from the 90s.
For the
onwards.
last 20 so years.
20-ish, 30-ish years.
Not a coincidence, Ben.
Is it not, Michael?
No.
Go on.
It's an on-purpose thing. Do you know this?
No, I
Or are
don't
you
know this
setting
at
me
all.
up?
No,
This-
no.
Korea,
Please.
Korea has an interesting history of popular culture where they used to have bans on certain types of international pop culture being imported into Korea.
They did.
Um,
So as to not hamper the...
the local, well, a lot of it was about their kind of fraught relationship with Japan as well. But from the 90s, Ben, they made a kind of conscious cultural decision as a country to promote their image, to get out there,
bloody...
to export.
Check it out. We're South Korea.
Yeah.
Well, you can tell by the way I walk that walk. I'm a Korean film. No time to talk. Da-na-na. No, I don't have anything else.
All right, look, you lost it there. But yeah, they made a conscious effort. I think it's called the Ministry of Culture, Tourism.
I'm about to drink some water, so we'll just take a
have
moment.
drink of water, yeah. Don't
Just
spill it all over yourself.
Just to...
I'll line up one of my good jokes. Very good. Bit of ASMR.
No spillage. Didn't piss my pants.
One of the cats is having an absolute freak out. You're spilling water.
She is
over
worried
yourself.
that I have pissed my pants again. She's going, no, Ben, don't drink the water. That has not ended well traditionally on this pod.
So they
Sorry. go
So
on.
they decided to do absolute freak out there. Pop your head out the door and see what's wrong with that. Edward Sheeran, are you quite all right? Yes? What's up? All right.
Will we take a break?
No, he's fine.
And
He's
have a
fine.
look?
He's just complaining. So they made a kind of cultural decision
Yes.
to export Koreanness.
Koreanness for all the gang.
And they decided this in the form of comics, movies, TV shows, music, K-pop.
Bloody K-pop.
And they pushed it all internationally. It's a way, I think, Ben, of projecting power internationally in a non-military way, inspired probably by the Americans.
Yes,
By the
cultural
American-
colonization as opposed to
Yeah.
colonization.
Because Korea had been a little bit culturally isolated by choice, and they didn't import a lot of cultural media, pop culture stuff.
Now, I do feel it's important to point out that neither Michael or myself are Korean.
No, we're not.
Neither South nor North.
No, neither North nor South. nor
However,
Central.
Michael has spent a little bit of time in Korea,
I have, Ben.
which I think is important. You
I
have a
don't
little-
like to go on about it, Ben.
But you have a little bit of cultural insight.
It's very difficult to be an international man of mystery if you keep going on about it all the time.
Yes, well, I've never found that to be the case, Michael.
I
but,
did, Ben. I lived in Korea for a short time. I speak a little bit of Korean, despite the butchery of Korean at the
Hence
start
the beginning of this
there.
podcast.
It was very bad. I made more mistakes than I
I
would
don't
usually.
think that's true, Michael.
It was pretty bad, Ben. I made more mistakes than I usually would because I realised the pressure of speaking a foreign language on microphone is pretty difficult.
Hence the reason I never tackle Italian on the podcast.
Very
Michael.
good. So, yeah, no, look, I lived there for a little while, but what were we saying? Yes, so they made a conscious effort, basically, to export Korean culture as a product.
Give us their best stuff.
And it really shows, because for a country of, what's the population of Korea? 60 million-ish?
Yeah, sure.
I
I'm not going to correct you, Michael. I'll look it up here, though.
reckon it's around the same as Italy. But they seem to have had a very large impact on the popular culture landscape in the last 30 years.
They have. Korean New Wave cinema has been 51.4 million.
Right, so yeah, close enough. So, like, not an enormous country.
No, not
But,
huge.
you know, we are a bit misrepresented in Ireland, actually being a tiny country
We are tiny.
with a very large international footprint.
Yes, we've somehow managed to
Yeah,
do that.
despite not being that many of us.
because Americans like to make a conscious effort on our behalf.
It also helps that we speak English here, Ben.
Yes, that is a usual bloody colonialism. Huh?
'Cause,
It's shaping the world even to date.
Bloody heck.
Even to date.
So anyway, Ben, I lived there, and a lot of my pop culture awareness of Korea stems from between the years 2005, 2006, and 2007.
Those are prime years for Korean pop culture, though.
They were pretty good years, Ben, and it was interesting to be there at the time, because one of the big things that was released at that time, Ben, was the movie Gwemul.
Which is... Gotta help me out there, bud.
Gwemul is...
My sassy girl?
No, Gwemul translates literally as monster. But internationally, they called it The Host for some reason.
Bloody The Host.
I don't know why they called it The Host. Have you seen the film The Host?
Yes, I have.
It is the second or third film. I think it's the third film from your newfound favourite director.
Yes, Bong Joon-ho.
Yes. I think it's his third.
It is.
It is his third. And that was released when I lived in Korea.
His first huge international acclaim.
It was very, very exciting when that was released.
Yes.
So it's a movie, Ben. It's a monster movie.
It is.
It's a monster movie along the lines of Godzilla or
Yeah,
something.
it's up there with Godzilla.
But it's not really, because it features a very realistic monster.
Yeah, it's a,
Have you
a
you've seen it,
mutant.
right?
I
You've
have,
seen
yes.
it?
The big
Yeah.
bloody fish thing.
He's a mutanty fishy amphibian thing. But he's only about the size of a big car.
Yes, he's not going to wreck any towns.
No.
He's not going to devour an entire building.
And it actually turns out to be not a monster movie. There's a couple of frights and
Yeah,
a couple of
there's a couple-
chases, but it's not a monster movie.
No.
It's a family drama,
Mm.
and it's a cultural drama,
Mm.
and it's a political drama.
Mm.
And there are certain things about it which, contrary to what you've just said about Parasite, that it could be set anywhere, make it inherently Korean,
Okay.
I felt.
Okay.
Now, I could be wrong, and there might be some Ben's retractions from this. Even if I get something wrong, it's
Nice that I have to do it for both
It'll
of
still
us.
be a Ben's retraction. But where I'm going with it is, so it's a very good film. It's a monster movie. It's about a slow-witted man, a slow-witted poor man who owns a food stall.
Played by
Played by the same guy.
Song Kang-ho.
The same guy who is in Parasite.
Song Kang-ho.
Yeah,
who is the Korean New Wave darling actor.
Very good at acting.
Very good actor
Because-
all round.
Yes, because in this movie he plays someone who's very slow-witted
Yes.
because he didn't have enough protein as a child. And it is, like Parasite, which I haven't seen, but just based on your description, it is also very, very funny.
Yes.
And a lot of the humour I felt was quite Korean humour. But there are lots of family drama interaction things,
Parasite would be exactly the same.
which you said are quite Irish, and I can see what you see. There's a lot of siblings hitting each other.
Yeah. A lot of pucking about.
Yeah, a lot of parents reprimanding siblings for not being nice to each other.
Yes.
But there are some very, very Korean moments in Parasite, like when they find out that the the granddaughter has been killed by the monster.
Yeah.
They all have a roll around on the ground and a cry and start drop kicking each other.
Because that's Korean.
Well,
For better or worse, that's
for better
Korean.
or worse, that's what happens in Korean movies. People roll around on the floor and cry.
And giving an old boot up the backside.
Yeah, a lot more than other things. But where am I going with the whole uniquely Korean thing? The whole uniquely Korean thing. So they have the slow-witted food seller. Food sellers who are slow-witted, to me, they look like kind of the lower class, the less respected
They
people
would be
of
the
Korea.
working class of Korea.
And then they have the auntie, who is an archer.
Yeah.
And archery, Ben, massive sport in Korea.
Really?
One of their best sports for Olympic medals and stuff.
C'est bizarre.
Big into archery. And big into, like, archery being a source of national pride.
Wouldn't have caught that now.
And then the third sibling in it is a demonstrator. He's a political activist.
Yes, he's a little activist.
A student rioter.
Yes.
And student riots were a huge thing in the 90s in Korea.
Quite a tumultuous history, that old Korea.
Exactly, of student riots. So he's picked 3 real Korean archetype characters.
And he likes that.
Right? And you might miss that if you aren't familiar with the culture. You don't need to see that to appreciate it.
I missed it.
That's what I'm saying.
But I'm not familiar with the culture.
It would be like if you had a family drama set in Ireland where there was a farmer who was also a GA player, and then one of the other children was like a rugby boy who went to DC to UCD.
There are
and
subtle
then-
inclinations as to
see what I'm
the
saying?
type of person you're dealing with.
Yeah, and then the third sibling was I don't know. He worked in Google and he was a modern Ireland.
He's a yuppie.
Yeah, you see what I'm saying?
A yupster.
There's things like that are in
At
Gwemul.
play there.
Yeah, it's a very good movie though. It's a very good. It's a very good movie.
It is a very good movie. It's a good monster movie without being a monster movie.
It's a good monster movie without being a monster movie. But the real monsters, Ben, are the Americans.
Americans are terrible.
Herschel from The Walking Dead is the one who flushes all the chemicals into the Han River at the beginning. My favorite thing about
So
it is
strange.
yeah, it's so strange. It's about the monsters are the Americans and government incompetence and government bending over for the Americans.
There is nothing worse than
Yeah.
a spineless government, Michael.
And the heroes are a poor Korean food seller, an archer, and
the working classes,
and
if you will.
a student rebel.
Yeah, I mean, that theme runs through Bong Joon-ho's work consistently. Class warfare is a huge part. Probably no more so than in bloody Snowpiercer, Michael, where he just takes his analogy and turns it into a big giant film.
Except this time it's Chris Evans.
Except this time it's Chris Evans. Yeah, so I suppose one of the interesting things about his kind of huge international foray, the one that got him big acclaim, was the fact that he did an English-speaking film as a man who speaks very little English. It's kind of a fascinating thing. Snowpiercer is ridiculous. It's a dystopia, Michael. Ridiculous in concept, wonderful as a film. And the Snowpiercer is the train. The train is the titular Snowpiercer.
The aforementioned Snowpiercer.
And it rolls on through the nuclear wasteland apocalypse. And it's bloody freezing cold, Michael. We're in the middle of nuclear winter. Nuclear?
No, it's funnier if you don't pronounce it correctly. We've found that.
Nuclear.
Yeah,
nuclear winter. And basically, this train is split between upper classes in the front carriages, the first class of the train, if you will, working classes at the lower end of the train in the hovel. And it's the people at the back of the train live a miserable existence, Michael, of basically being carted around on a rolling internment camp of sorts. Whereas the people on the upper part of the train live in the lap of luxury, Michael.
Weird film. Based on a French comic. Korean director. Czech funded. In English.
It's a bizarre film, Michael.
So international.
Chris Evans stars.
American.
Got bloody John Hurt. John Hurt is his mentor of sorts.
Jamie Bell.
Bloody Ed Harris. Just the name Villain.
Yeah.
Jamie Bell is there. It's a bizarre film, Michael. And it's all about the desperation of being poor, basically, and the victimhood that you suffer as a result of being poor, how you're preyed upon by the rich. Because every once in a while, Michael, it turns out in a film that came out 4 years ago.
More, I think.
4, maybe 5.
Yeah.
Spoilers for that film. It turns out, Michael, that in this super train that never runs out of steam, that always works perfectly, that seems to carry on through nuclear winter no matter what happens.
Yeah.
there is unfortunately a huge design flaw. There is a compartment in the top end of the train, Michael, that only fits a small child, and that small child has to turn a crank to make the train work, and that becomes the physical embodiment of sacrifices must be made. Sacrifices must be made so that people can continue.
Yeah. Sacrifice was a common kind of theme in Gwenwell as well.
Yes, exactly. And the central conflict of Snowpiercer, Michael, is do sacrifices have to be made, and are those sacrifices worth it? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10 times throughout a film.
Just keep doing it.
And that's really what it comes down to. Bizarre film, Michael.
And it has Kang Ho Sung.
But very good. Kang Ho Sung plays the mysterious middleman of the train. He's a kind of philosopher, down and out, beatnik poet type lunatic who operates in the middle of the train and has secret mysteries to unravel. But it's a fascinating film, Michael, and it's about the progress from the back of the train to the front of the train to get one of these children back. It's a French Revolution style kind of
French Revolution, Korean Revolution, Czech Revolution, American Revolution, English Revolution.
bloody take your oppression and
so international.
Boot against it. But a good film, Michael. Excellent.
Mad for trains, the old Koreans.
Mad for trains, Michael. Speaking of being mad for trains, go on, you segue us there. Buttery segue.
Bloody, you know what I watched there the other day, Ben?
One of your favourites, Michael.
It is. I really thoroughly enjoyed it, Ben.
It's very fucking good.
I watched the one of the best zombie films, Train to Busan.
Train to Busan.
Have you seen it?
I haven't actually. I didn't get a chance.
You haven't seen Train to Busan?
I haven't seen Train to Busan.
Train to Busan is probably the best zombie film of recent times. Because they're a bit trite. You know, zombie films, we've seen them all before.
Yes.
But Train to Busan is a very good zombie film. Ben,
by Yun Sang-ho.
Yeah. Ben, you know, when you're watching a zombie film,
yes,
what do the zombies represent?
It depends on what you're raging against at that particular moment in time, Michael.
Exactly. So in the 50s and 60s, it was the birth of nuclear power.
Dirty bloody guys.
Then it became maybe communism. Then it was consumerism.
Oh, don't you be looking at that iPod, you
get out of that mall, you big jerk. Get out of the mall. In this movie, I think the zombies represent becoming slaves to wage slaves or
a capitalist agenda.
Yeah, yes, but not in the same kind of American way of purchase.
The grind.
In the more Korean, Japanese way of
get yourself an office.
Yeah,
chain yourself to the desk.
Yes,
get on in here
and commit yourself wholeheartedly to business, no matter what it costs.
Busyness,
even if it costs your relationship with your daughter, even if it costs your humanity in the end.
A little bit 28 days later.
A little bit it is. And there's fast zombies and slow zombies and, you know, it's a good zombies. There's good zombies. But the real baddie...
Go on.
So in Train to Busan, there's what I don't know if they use the term salaryman in it, but there's a salaryman.
Yes, I had this explained to me quite recently, Michael, as a concept. It's basically someone who commits themselves.
Yeah, they live their job.
Yeah, they live their job as salaryman. Or salary woman, I found out.
We would call them a workaholic.
Yes, but it's apparently a position of great esteem.
Yeah,
in certain cultures.
You get into a company, you get into one of the big companies, your Samsung, your LG.
Nice.
And you just spend all your time there, and you forget about your family, your friends, you forget about everything, and you...
Because that's what you do.
And business is everything. Business becomes the main thing. And the funny thing is, in this movie, the hero... The real hero is the guy who plays Gilgamesh in the upcoming The Eternals, because he's brilliant.
Oh no, it's not him.
I forget his name. But the hero, the main character of this, he wants to take his daughter to see her estranged mother, or his estranged wife, and he hasn't really been paying her much attention as a father.
It's Gong Yu.
Yeah, is that the guy who's going to be
hero.
Gilgamesh? No,
he's the main guy, isn't he?
No, because the main guy isn't the coolest guy. The main guy is...
Is it Madon Suk?
Yeah, I think so. The main guy is the dad who wants to take his daughter.
No.
That's him there.
Yeah, that's him there. No. Middle guy.
The middle guy is a blank picture, Ben.
Sorry. Left guy.
No, he's not the guy. He's the kind of cool guy. He's the cool guy he's the only one. The guy here on the left.
Yeah, that's what I said. Yeah. Gong Yu.
He's the guy who plays Gilgamesh is the guy who for the first time in zombie movie history wraps his forearms in padding,
World War Z did
and
that.
tape, and then when they try and bite him, he's like, "You can't bite me," and he pushes like the whole cart of zombies back because he's a big tough guy. But anyway,
it's pretty smart.
Yes, the real villain of the piece isn't the zombies; It's a businessman, an older businessman who has devoted his life to business and he doesn't really care much for humanity and he's out for himself above everything else. And I think the whole point is we've got the young dad and the real villain is this guy who could be the future him.
So he's fighting himself.
Exactly.
Or it's a comment on how new age parenting is actually kind and compassionate and how boomer parenting is pretty toxic.
I don't think it is.
Okay, never mind.
I think that's putting an American slant onto a Korean movie.
I am an American slant kind of guy.
Yeah, so I think it's about like this guy struggling not to become this guy and the sacrifices he has to make.
Don't want to be no salary man.
Yeah, well, yeah, like I mean the goal of the salary man I think is to become the CEO.
Probably.
And this mean guy who keeps locking the doors and leaving people in with the zombies.
Oh, what a dick.
Yeah, exactly.
I'm going to have to go watch this film.
It's a very good film.
I thought it was on Netflix. It wasn't.
And it has very good action. Like, aside from all these themes and stuff, it has very good action.
Enough of these tropes. Give me that sweet, sweet action. No, I mean, it's interesting, Michael, that we focus so much on a podcast that normally doesn't really zone in on heavy drama and tropes and stuff like that. Korean cinema seems to be awash with deeply intimate personal dramas.
No.
Oh.
The good ones.
The good ones seem to be awash.
Well, yeah, like this is the thing.
Intimate.
When you're talking about the cinema industry of a country that you don't live in, you only really get the cream.
It's a cream rising to the top situation.
So, I mean, when I was there, I saw £200 Beauty, about a woman who undergoes full body plastic surgery to become popular. And that was like the second most successful film of the year.
Gwyneth Paltrow.
It wasn't like it was kind of like Shallow Hal. I think it was around the same time as Shallow Hal as well.
That'll be it.
But with the completely opposite message, she ends up happy because she is skinny and attractive.
Oh,
and
that's pressure.
Like lots of derivative horror movies. I saw A Part 2, which was about a haunted apartment rather than the haunted house of The Grudge or the haunted videotape of The Ring. I saw a crime movie called Jokbae, translated as City is Violence, which I don't know what was going on.
Aren't they just?
It seemed to be about 4 friends and 2 of them became cops and 2 of them
Having
became criminals or something. But that's what I'm saying. It's the cream. We get the cream. The cream goes international.
The cream is what makes it here. Speaking of creams of crops, Michael,
go on.
Friend of the podcast and doubting Thomas of Benjamin, Nyan Wassi's also recommended that we watch the Vengeance trilogy.
Go on.
From, I'm going to get the name wrong.
Korea, I think.
Park Chan-wook is the name of the director. And these are intimately violent. And what I mean by intimately violent is that it's bloody close-up gory violence, Michael.
Good.
We're right in there with the splatter and the blood and the hammers to the teeth. And,
good.
So the one that everybody probably knows, if you were to ask about like great international cinema, the one that a lot of people would be able to tell you from the Barcelona is Old Boy.
Oh, with Josh Brolin.
With Josh Brolin, yes. By noted American director and original savant Spike Lee. No, Michael.
That was no good.
No, Michael, that was terrible. Because it misses all kinds of nuance and subtleties and yada, yada, yada. What I'm talking about is 2004's Korean Old Boy, which is just a fantastic film, Michael. It's about a man who has everything taken from him and he's put in a little bloody box.
In a box for a few
years. And it's all about his bloody big evil vengeance, Michael. He comes out, and that's why it's part of the Vengeance trilogy, probably the best known of the 3. And he goes out and he just has a time, Michael. And then there's a bloody spooky, scary, terrifying twist at the end.
It's a very unpleasant twist.
It's not spooky, in fairness. It's just unnerving and unsettling in every sense of the word.
I think we can spoil it. It has been out for 17 years.
Yeah, well, basically, he falls in love with a young lady, Michael. But
guess who she turns out to be?
It's his bloody daughter, Michael.
Oh, no good.
His bloody daughter, Michael.
Oh, get out of here.
And in the end, he chooses a lifetime of being put back in the box.
Yeah.
As opposed to living with the...
What's in the box?
Horrific shame of having rode your own daughter.
Oh, no good.
There are another 2 there. There are Sympathy for Mr. Vengeance, which was the original. And then there was Lady Vengeance, which came out after Old Boy. And both of those, Michael, center around normal Korean people that have had enough.
They're
not
can't
going to
take
take
it
it
no more.
anymore. This is what I mean. Korean cinema, or the cream of the crop of Korean cinema, seems to focus intensely on the oppressed of Korean society. Your salary men, your salary women, your down and outs. And it seems to give them a little bit of, I don't know if you'd call it, I suppose we'd call it fan service, Michael, but it's a little bit of fantasy fulfillment for a lot of Koreans, I'd imagine.
Catharsis, I think is the word you're looking for, Benjamin.
That is what I'm looking for, Michael. That's the word you were looking for.
Exactly
what I was looking for, Michael.
Catharsis.
Thank you very much.
You're welcome.
So
I don't know what that is in Korean.
It's pretty intense violence in all three. And
Of course, Ben, Lady Vengeance is the thing you fear most.
I'm quite a fan of Lady Vengeance. It turns me on, and then I remember, this is going to end horribly. But live by the sword, Michael.
Die by the sword. Exactly, that's what they say.
That's just how it goes. There are several women that I'm going to get a text from if they listen to this. This is going to get me in trouble.
Lady Vengeance.
Ladies Vengeance. Yeah, but anyway.
What were you saying?
I think what marks that trilogy out, Michael, is the sheer close-up, gritty, just intense level of emotion and vitriol that some of those characters portray, Michael. Watch any of those and you'll have yourself a sex scene, you'll have yourself a violence, and it's so intense, like it's right up in your face. Censors be damned. Just, so hardcore, Michael. Just unsettling to watch.
Which one is the best?
You wouldn't want... I would argue that Old Boy is the best. Right. But Lady Vengeance is awfully good.
Is it?
I mean, it's a bit... Korean exploitation? Could we call it Korean exploitation?
Could you? Are you going to coin that term?
I don't think I can. I think it's a Korean film, so it's inherently Korean. And I don't know if it necessarily reinforces negative stereotypes, but it certainly uses stereotypes in a strong way to reinforce its message, which is don't fuck around on your wife.
No, she'll get you.
Don't be acting the bollocks. But as I said, Michael, it comes through. Well, I forgot a film from bloody my darling Bong Joon-ho. He did bloody Okja for Netflix.
Okja.
His criticism of the meat and dairy industry.
Oh, is that him?
Where we have that's him.
Didn't know that.
Completely missed that. His second English language film. Which is completely English language. Bloody Jake Gyllenhaal playing a ridiculous Steve Irwin, kind of an inverse Steve Irwin, a man who plays up to his reputation as an animal lover, and is actually just in it for the fame and glory.
Oh, classic Steve Irwin.
And that's his other one. Tilda Swinton's there, Tildy Swints, who is also in Snowpiercer.
She's in Snowpiercer.
Big criticism of the meat and dairy industry, and just the toxic nature of that. I don't know if Bong Joon-ho is actually a vegan, but he might be. He might be. He certainly doesn't seem to like the bloody mass meat industry. Tell you that much. No, that's all I have to say on that, Michael. Sorry, I forgot it. And I don't know whether I said Snowpiercer was his only English language film. If I did, I'll retract that right now, Michael.
I don't think you did. I think you said first.
But in general, a lot of these things, Michael, come through in different things. So there's another director that kind of does the more art house end of it, who is Kim Ji-woon. And this actor, Song Kang-ho, who is the father in Parasite, the mysterious beatnik poet lunatic in Snowpiercer, and the main character of the host, is in it as well. And it's a bittersweet life, and that's all about Korean military and covering things up. I suppose it's like A Few Good Men for the Korean military. It's interesting, Michael. I was watching some interviews on why... I was watching some interviews on why...
You want answers.
I suppose I was watching some interviews to try and find out what are the common themes.
You can't handle the truth.
And the truth of it is, Michael, is that a lot of these things are Korean-centric because Korea has a very unique culture when it comes to conflict and conscription, and there are a lot of shared Korean experiences for some people. And I suppose using those, as you said, the archery, conscription, time in the military, a lot of these are things... that really kind of resonate with people, Michael. And then my sister, while I was researching this, turned around to me.
Sister.
She doesn't pay attention to a lot of what I do.
She doesn't care about the podcast.
She said, Ben, are you listening to Korean culture? And I went, what do you mean listening to Korean culture? She's like, it's a podcast that I listen to understand my favourite sitcom. And I went, what do you mean your favourite sitcom? And she watches a huge sitcom from Canada of all places.
Go on.
Called Kim's Convenience, Michael.
I've heard of it.
Kim's Convenience is fucking hilarious.
Go on,
Michael. And I use fucking as an adjective to just denote something that's wonderful and enjoyable and a great insight if you're trying to understand a bit more of Korean culture. Kim's Convenience is about a Korean Canadian family. The two children are first generation Canadian Korean, and mother and father are full Korean.
Oh yeah.
And it takes a look at their life as immigrants in Canada. And Michael,
Yes, man.
It was funny when I was watching Parasite. Much of what I watched in Parasite I understood in terms of small tidbits of language because both actors who play the parents in Kim's Convenience speak mostly in Korean.
Oh.
They have Korean phrases,
wouldn't they?
and they look at the Korean experience as immigrants, where they came from, what they do. And Michael, it was a fascinating insight in Korean culture. Nowhere near as in depth as your own. But it was interesting that my sister was able to point me in the direction of
probably more, Ben, because
really
you know, if it's made by a team of people who are Korean, I think that's more than spending a little bit of time there.
But it wins a ton of awards, Michael, in the Canadian TV and film industry.
Do they own a convenience shop?
Yes, they do. In the thing, that's what it is. It's a corner store.
That's the Korean stereotype.
Yes, it's the Korean stereotype. But they look at that and they break it down in a way that is very heartwarming, but also hilarious, Michael. And it makes it very accessible as a culture. They have little vignettes at the beginning of each episode, and it's a fascinating little 2-minute deconstruction of some preconceived notion that you would have of Koreans or
Canadian
of another minority.
Oh.
It's really interesting to watch it interact, Michael. So Kim's Convenience was something that I really enjoyed.
We don't really have a surfeit of Korean grocers here.
No, we don't have that. We don't have a huge... do we have a big Korean population, Michael?
We have a decently sized Korean population.
Do we?
There are restaurants. And
there are restaurants.
There are shops.
That we quite
barbers,
enjoy, Michael. We quite enjoy.
This
you and I
have cross-brought to you by Kimchi on Dublin's
Kimchi
Parnell Street.
Should be.
If
they sponsored us, that'd be bloody great.
Sponsor this episode, guys.
Sponsor this episode, guys. Guys, that's our time.
Just give us some bibimbap.
Give us some... Oh, look at you nailing that pronunciation.
Well, did I, Ben?
Probably not. Korean listeners, because we do have one or two. How was Michael's pronunciation? Let us know down below.
Oh no, bibimbap was fine. Earlier on was probably atrocious.
Have you seen Parasite? Of the PowerPoint?
No, I haven't.
If you have, what did you think of it? What is your favorite piece of Korean culture? We didn't really touch animation or comics or anything like that, or K-pop,
or the performing artist Psy.
Oppa
Gangnam
Style. Or any kind of K-pop, which we really should. We did have a recommendation from Dr. Cadwell about the plethora of what seemed to be Korean YouTube channels for children. And we didn't watch any of those, Michael.
Well, I did.
Neither. Oh, did you?
Oh, Ben, if you haven't lived, you haven't Baby Sharked.
Okay, well then we'll have to come back to that. Yeah. Is that where Baby Shark comes from?
Yeah, Baby Shark
is,
that's the fella, yeah. Well, Pink Fong, the YouTube channel is Korean.
Okay, fair enough.
And the two kids in the video are Korean.
Well, that's good. Anyway, we didn't get a chance to talk about all that, so maybe we'll do a part 2 at some point.
Well, I mean, Ben, it's a whole country. We can't cover it in one episode.
We can't say that we've definitively covered Korean pop culture.
No, can we?
Even though that's the name of this episode.
I talked about Gwemul and Train to Busan. That's pretty much what I wanted to talk about.
Yeah, you got through what you wanted to talk about. Ladies and gentlemen, what did we miss? For our Korean listeners, what should we watch next?
Yeah.
We do have 1 or 2 Korean listeners. Please get in touch with us, guys, and let us know what we should watch next. If you want to get in touch with us
I'm not
in a
watching
way that
anything
isn't
about
traditional.
romance.
Nothing to do with romance.
No.
I'll watch the romance ones.
You watch the romance one.
I'm a hopeless romantic at heart.
I have no time for that.
It also keeps the lady vengeance off my back. So yeah, in general, ladies and gentlemen, if you want to get in touch with us, we are online at seomrabeag.com, seomrabeag.com.
Means tiny room in Irish.
It means tiny room in Irish. We are on Instagram at Sean Rabeag, same spelling, same thing, still means tiny room in Irish. Yeah. You can get in touch with us there if you prefer an informal interaction. If you're listening to us on Spotify, give us an follow and share it with your friends. Yeah. Share it with your friends. Please put us in your Instagram story. It's really easy. You go up to the little share icon, tap it, straight to Instagram stories. Then they just have to click on us. We go on through.
Go on to them then.
If you are listening to us on Apple Podcasts, please give us a review. It can be a 2-word review with 5 stars. It can be a 3-word review with 5 stars. It can be a bloody essay with 5 stars.
Just 5 stars.
Just give us the 5 stars. And send us up
Even
there.
give us a review that says, I wouldn't rate this podcast 5 stars, but then rate it 5 stars.
Yes, just give us the 5 stars.
The irony of that will probably get you noticed in the world of reviewing.
Look, we'll bloody tout your graces.
We'll read it out.
Yeah, we'll have a read. 10 out of 10 wouldn't listen.
Very good.
That's it from us for this week, ladies and gentlemen. On that note, please keep listening.
Please do.
Bye.
감사합니다.
Nice.